Hey tribe, welcome back to my channel. Or if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, ke nna Mapalo Maku. Today's video was inspired by a friend who sent me a DM and said, hey, my mom is retiring in the next couple of months. What should she be looking out for? So if your parent is retiring, an aunt, an uncle, someone in the community is retiring, this video is for them so that you give them the information and that they make the most efficient decision that will give them a good outcome for their retirement, because it's a big decision when you are going into retirement. So this information is for them and also for you, even if you are young, like myself, like most people who watch this channel, but to kind of start thinking around retirement and the implications even later on in life. All right. So the legal retirement age in South Africa is 55, okay, from 55. But obviously, it depends on the fund rules. So perhaps you are part of a pension fund or provident fund who has a retirement age of 65, but legally can retire from the age of 55 in South Africa. All right. So let's say you are, or your parent is close to retirement, they're retiring in the next couple of months. What should they be thinking about? So I'm going to talk about the technical stuff, but also how they should be thinking around retirement and the expenses once they don't earn an active income anymore. Okay. So there are two options that a retiree has at retirement. Okay. So remember, you've built up your pension, your provident fund, you've accumulated these funds for over a couple of years, decades, even, or actually, hopefully, a couple of decades. And now you have this capital, you have this amount of money sitting in your pension or provident fund. And if you had resigned before from a company and you preserved your funds, so that money perhaps could be sitting in your pension preservation or provident preservation fund. But also, again, that money could be sitting in a retirement annuity. So let's say you did work for a company and you had a pension provident fund, but then you supplemented that income through a retirement annuity, or you worked for yourself and you didn't have an employer-employee relationship, so meaning that you would have had a retirement annuity to save up for your retirement. So those are some of the vehicles that you would use to save up for retirement. So now you find yourself, let's say, at the age of 60, and you say, you know what, I'm actually tired. I want to go and sit at home, look at my grandkids, or travel, or whatever it is that you choose to do. What options are available to you, or your parent, or your uncle, or your aunt? So at that age, and like I said, we're going to use 60 as an example. It can be 65, it can be any age really. You have built up this kitty for yourself. So let us call it 2 million. Hopefully it's more, because truly speaking, with the cost of living, it's not a lot of money. R1 million is not a lot of money. R2 million is not a lot of money. It is, but when you subjectively look at it, because remember, and I think this is something also I want to get across, that when we think about retirement, we think about it as this age that, oh my gosh, I'll have 2 million and I'll be sorted. But remember, when you retire, for example, with our example here at the age of 60, people are living longer, right? Because of medical advances, because of eating well, taking care of yourself, that sort of thing, people are actually living longer. So let's make an assumption that you will die at the age of 90. So you retire at the age of 60, you die at the age of 90. Between 60 and 90, that's a whole 30 years. That is a long time. That is a long time. And I think if you think about it, if you are in your 20s and you turn 30, it's a big milestone, meaning that you have been alive for 30 years. So imagine not earning an active income for 30 years. So if you are young right now and you're watching this, think about it that way, that, you know what, I'm going to need to fund the next 30 years of my life after retirement. Yes, the definition of retirement actually should change and is changing, that people don't just go stay at home and do absolutely nothing with their lives. Some people still work, consult, and whatever it is. But those are some of the things that we should start thinking about, that if you are close to retirement, if it's your parent, they should start thinking, what do I want for myself in this new season, in this last phase of my life? We can call it that. I know it sounds a little bit morbid, but I think that's why maybe most of the time people don't want to think about retirement, because it's like you're edging closer to death. Oh. But you still have so much life, and you should consider, what is it that I'm going to do in this period? And that's the conversation you should actually be having with your parents, that, okay, outside of saying, yes, you're not going to work actively anymore, you still have skills, you have experience, you have the expertise, you have the number of years that you've worked in whatever industry. How do you package that so that you can do consulting? Or if you want to travel, how do you make sure that you are able to fund that? All right. So you have this amount of money, let's call it 2 million rand, and you are at the age of 60, and that's your retirement. And now you are sitting in front of a financial planner, financial advisor, or somebody coming to your company. And I want to encourage you, if your parents are close to retirement, don't wait until it's a couple of months before retirement. You should start having this conversation at least 5 years before. You should be sitting down with a professional 5 years before retirement, maybe even more, and reviewing where you are every single year, and to come up with a plan to say, this is where we are, this is what you want to achieve, and looking at what it is that you have, this is how you're going to achieve that. And also take into consideration, at retirement, there's medical bills, the medical aid. Inflation, guys, is terrible. It is terrible. It's not normal inflation. It goes up by way more than inflation, which right now in April 2025 is sitting at around 3.5. But when you look at how much medical aids go up every single year, it's like 8%. So you have to take that into consideration. You have to take living costs into consideration. You have to take into consideration, does your parent, and I know with most Black people, they want to renovate their houses. I would travel, but we are a different generation, and you have to allow them to do those things that they want. I think when I was a younger financial planner and starting out in the industry before I started doing financial education, I used to just be like, no, I don't understand why people just don't, travel. It's a different generation, and it's okay. Those were their desires. We have different desires, and we have to acknowledge those and make sure that whoever is sitting with them acknowledges who your parents are, and actually draw up a plan that will suit their needs and their desires, because they have their desires. Yes, with us, it could we look at it from a numbers point. We look at it from our own perspective. Oh no, you should be traveling. They don't want that. They want, when someone comes to their house, they see that they've bought a new kist, that they've bought a new room divider. If that's what they want, that financial planner should speak to them with integrity, with warmness, with, I see you and I know you've told me your goals and we're going to try to meet them, not their own point of view. Okay, like I was when I was younger. I'm glad I'm growing up. Anyway, so these are the two options that your parents have at retirement. From that amount of money, they have two options. One, it's either to buy a life annuity or a living annuity. Okay, so when you have a pension fund, when you have a provident fund, legally, and there are many other rules that I'm not going to get into, because provident funds used to be treated differently from pension funds. With a provident fund, before, I can't remember the date now, before that, you could take your provident fund in cash, but you would pay tax on that. Okay, you would pay, obviously, the 1/3 would be tax free. They could still take the 2/3, but it would be taxed. What happened after, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the date altogether, but I'll write it in the description, I promise. They said, no, provident funds are going to operate the same way as pension funds, meaning that with the pension fund, legally, you are allowed to take 1/3 in cash. That's if you haven't withdrawn from pension and provident funds before, but you're allowed 1/3 in cash up to 550,000 completely tax-free. Then the 2/3 you have to buy an annuity. What is an annuity? It is income that you will be getting from that product that you bought. Why did they do this? Not because, oh my gosh, they want to take our money. No, it was because people would go and blow it. And a lot of the times people are not used to huge lump sums coming into their accounts. So they would run out of money. Then the government has to step in and give them some sort of an income. So it was reducing that, making sure that we reduce our how much we depend on the state. Okay, so that's how it works. So the two options that are available for your parents, for your uncles, aunts, people in your community, is that you get what we call a life annuity or a living annuity. This is the money that you're going to put. So the 1/3 you would have taken in cash and it will come into your bank account. The 2/3 you have to buy an income, an annuity. So this annuity is split. You can either get a life annuity or a living annuity. So what is a life annuity? A life annuity is an insurance product that you buy. Okay, so you are at the age of 60, you say, you know what, I want guaranteed income. I don't want to run out of money and struggle. So a life annuity is a product that an insurance company, so think insurance, think about any company that ends with life. Liberty Life, Sanlam Life, Old Mutual Life, anything that ends with life, basically, they have that type of product, a life annuity, where they guarantee that you will get an income until you die. All right. And you sign up for that and you say, this is the income that you will get. And for me, I think it is one of the best ways to guarantee that you don't run out of money and that you have money for your essentials. For me, I would use a life annuity to make sure that the basic stuff is taken care of, okay? But there are advantages and disadvantages to everything, right? So with a life annuity, the advantage is that it's guaranteed. You will receive that income for life. If you have a partner or a spouse, you can always say, if I pass away, my spouse will continue to get that income, okay? Sometimes, most of the time, it's not inflation linked. So you can find yourself in a position like 20 years later that your needs are not completely being met. So that's why some insurance houses, most of them anyway, they have an inflation linked life annuity. So you buy that. Yes, at the beginning, your income perhaps won't be as high, but you will maintain a good income where it is inflation based over the number of years. So again, advantages and disadvantages, all right? So I definitely would recommend looking at a life annuity. But one of the advantages again is that when you pass away, and let's say you took on to say, okay, your spouse will also receive an income, they pass away, that money done is not going to come to you as children or heirs of that parent who has passed away. So that money, oop. So I want you to think about a life annuity like this. The one who lives the longest wins. I know it sounds terrible, but that's actually just how a life annuity works. So if you live up to 90, you will continue getting your income. If you die at the age of 65 and you don't have a spouse, that money falls into that kitty where everyone else is guaranteed an income. So it definitely has its advantages and disadvantages. And so for me, sometimes I feel like an approach where you have both a life annuity and a living annuity kind of solves your problems, where with a life annuity, you're guaranteed an income and it can meet your needs every single month, okay? So it brings me to explain what a living annuity is, all right? So a living annuity is a product that you can buy with an insurance company, wouldn't really recommend, but you can also buy it with an asset management company. So here I am talking about 10x, I'm talking about Stanley, I'm talking about Investec or 91. I'm talking about Cautious, Prudential. My goodness, there are so many companies, but think about asset management companies, okay? They provide a living annuity, all right? So with a living annuity, it's a little bit more flexible. You get to choose your own income. So you can withdraw from 2.5% all the way to 17.5%. All right. So let's say you have 2 million, like we mentioned earlier, you can say, all right, every single month, or I'm going to draw between 2.5% all the way to 17.5%. But in terms of personal finance, they always say the sweet spot is that you withdraw only 4%, so that your money lasts. Another advantage is that with living annuity, you can choose your beneficiaries, unlike a life annuity where you don't get the option to choose a beneficiary. So when you pass away, your kids will get whatever is remaining in that living annuity, in that investment. All right. With a living annuity, you choose your investment strategy, which, it has its advantages, but it also can be very dangerous. Because if you don't have a financial planner who's well versed in choosing funds for retirees, then you can possibly lose your money. I mean, just look at what's been happening the past couple of weeks with tariffs, with all sorts of madness in the market. So if someone has chosen funds that are really aggressive for you, the potential is there for you to lose your money. Okay, so the risk really relies on you, the retiree, at the time that you need the money the most. All right. Another disadvantage to a living annuity is that it's possible that you would outlive your funds. Let's say you don't stick to the 4% drawdown percentage. Let's say you are like, you know what, I just need more money and I'm going to draw 10%. You possibly you will possibly outlive your savings, okay, and then rely on your kids' black tax, right? A vicious cycle. And yeah, because it's market related, it's not guaranteed, so you can really lose your money. And I mean, I remember, I can't remember the year, but when Zuma appointed the other guy as a minister of finance for the weekend, the markets literally tanked and people lost a lot of money, especially those who were in living annuities, not life annuity. Because remember, with a life annuity, your income is guaranteed no matter what the markets are doing, but also it has its own advantages. All right. Then let's just talk about the tax implications. So we've spoken about the options. Your parents have the option to either go with a life annuity or a living annuity. I would look and recommend looking at both, right? So you split your 2/3 funds into a life annuity and a living annuity. A life annuity, making sure that your normal regular expenses are taken care of, but a living annuity to make sure that, if you want to, I don't know, like other expenses, but not your normal living expenses. Making sure that this one is still protected, you're still invested, it's invested in the market, that you have the option to either withdraw a little bit more or a little bit less, depending on your needs. And also, really depending on how much you had in your pension fund. What is that 2/3 amount? But also, even your 1/3, that cash portion that you have, you can also invest. It doesn't have to be in either one living annuity or a life annuity, but making sure that you find a good mix and strike a good balance between the funds that you have accumulated. All right. So once you retire, it doesn't mean that SARS stops coming at your money. Okay. There are definitely rebates, especially from the age of 65. You do pay your tax, your normal income tax, but there are rebates from the age of 65. With estate planning specifically, I think this is where a lot of people really struggle with life annuities, because remember, it just kind of falls into the fund, you don't get anything out because it was guaranteed. So there's a cost to everything. The fact that you are guaranteed an income until you die, and hopefully you live the longest, you will still get an income. But if you pass away sooner, it means that those funds are not going to go to your children, to your beneficiaries, to your heirs. And that's why a lot of people struggle with life annuities. Whereas with a living annuity, you can nominate your beneficiary, and those funds, when you pass away, that capital can be left to your children, to your beneficiaries, to your heirs, to your grandkids, whoever you want to have those funds. So with life annuities and living annuities, specifically living annuities, it's not regulated by the Pensions Fund Act, right? It's not limited. So meaning that it's not limited to Regulation 28. So your parents can actually invest anywhere, anyhow. But considering that they are in retirement, the financial planner or financial advisor will have to take that into consideration and say, okay, what is your situation? Do you have a couple more millions? Do you want to be a little bit more aggressive still? Are you comfortable with that? And I think that's why I value good financial advice, not just a salesperson who's going to take a percentage and run and put me in some fund that they're actually not aware of. Someone who will consider your full picture, like we mentioned, your medical costs. Do you still have children who are staying at home? Has your house been paid off? Have you paid off your cars? Do you have life cover? Do you want to, let go of that, or you want to leave it as part of your legacy? So there are so many questions that your parents need to consider when they are looking at retirement, and getting valuable, good financial advice, I think, is truly, truly one of them, because it means absolutely everything. It means running out of money or having enough money to live comfortably and not to burden your kids. So those are the options. I know it's a mouthful, but I want you to know that at retirement, they get 1/3 in cash. So 2 million multiplied by 1 divided by 3, that's what they will get in cash. The first 550,000 is tax-free if they had not withdrawn any money before. Then the 2/3 needs to go into an annuity, buy an annuity, either a life annuity or a living annuity, which I've explained. All right. So that's what they need to consider. Please see if you can find them a good financial planner, someone who has a CFP, someone who's been doing this for a long time, and perhaps even consider getting a financial planner who works on a fee rather than just an upfront commission. And I know sometimes it feels like that upfront fee is a lot of money, but trust me, if you are going to go with someone who gets commission, they are still going to get money from your funds. So let's say, I'm just going to pull up my calculator here. Let's say it is the 2 million, right? 2 million, and the financial advisor, they have an upfront fee of 1.5%. You are paying 30,000 rand from your fund. Okay, so it's not 2 million is not going to go into that annuity anymore. It's going to be 2 million minus 30,000. So if someone says, oh no, pay me a fee of 10,000 or even 15,000, some actually go to 30,000 or more, but depending on what it is that you have in your fund. If you have 5 million in your fund and someone's saying, I want 30,000 upfront so that the actual full fee or actual capital goes into your investment, for me, it is worth it. I think we should start seeing fee-based financial planning as a good option if you really understand it. That you might not be physically taking out the money when someone ends on commission, but it's going to come off of your investments. And sometimes it's definitely more than what you'll be paying in terms of a fee. But getting a good financial planner truly is priceless. It is priceless because they'll be able to put you in funds that are suitable. They'll be able to report back to you on a regular basis. I just think it's worth it. Do consider it. And I hope this video has helped you or will help your parents and even just the way you think about retirement. If you have any questions whatsoever, please leave them in the comments and I will attend to them, because I want our parents to retire well and feel secure in the decisions that they are making at this very, very important milestone of their lives. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, and also subscribe to this channel. I will see you soon, tribe. Bye for now.